Hey guys! Today we're going to be taking a look at the Cityscape sneaker by Vessi Footwear. This is a very lightweight and waterproof shoe, and I've been testing these out for the past couple of weeks, and so far it's been a really great experience. I'd actually been curious about trying a pair of shoes like these out for a while just because they seem like they'd be great for one-bag travel due to their versatility and their weight. And they've been really comfortable to wear. I like the overall aesthetic, and the waterproofing has actually been really impressive, definitely more than I had anticipated. So I'm excited to share them with you guys, and I want to thank the company for sending the shoes for me to test out, and let's go ahead and jump in and take a closer look. Starting out with the overall aesthetic, the shoes have a very modern and minimalistic feel, and they remind me a lot of some of the popular sneakers that are currently on the market, and for the most part, I really like this look. I think it works well with a variety of outfits, whether you're wearing shorts or jeans, and they really managed to avoid that travel shoe feeling, which doesn't always look super nice in my opinion. And so I wouldn't necessarily call myself a sneakerhead, but I have amassed a lot of this style of sneaker, and so I wanted to kind of show a side-by-side comparison next to some shoes that you've probably seen out on the street. And so here I currently have a pair of Adidas Ultra Boosts and Nike Tan Junes, and to me they have a very similar feel to what the Vessi Cityscapes are trying to go for, so I really like the silhouette of both of the shoes. Obviously, if you're really into sneakers, a silhouette from something like the Ultra Boost is still going to feel a little bit nicer in my opinion, but they do a pretty good job of blending in. Here they are side by side with the Nike Tan Junes. And then one last pair of shoes that I'll place next to this one is the Adidas NMDs. So these are all really popular shoes that I've seen out a lot when I'm walking around different cities around the globe. And it's nice to see that these blend in pretty well with those. Very similar, clean aesthetic that I would be very comfortable wearing in pretty much any environment. Continuing on with the materials, one of the things that I thought was interesting is that the shoes are vegan friendly. So all of the suedes and leathers are engineered, and any glue that's used in the shoe is a water-based adhesive. So that's a nice bonus if that's something that's important to you. As far as the sole, this offers a nice amount of comfort, and it's really lightweight and has a nice amount of flex to add some comfort. And then on the bottom, it has a nice amount of traction. It's really grippy. I haven't felt any sort of slippage even when I'm walking on wet surfaces. The company does caution, however, that if you're using these on an icy surface, you take a little bit more caution. And for the most part, these have held up well. One thing I noticed near the top of the sole is that there are some signs of wear, which is a little bit surprising considering that I haven't been using the shoes for that long or in a rough environment. So it's definitely something that makes me a little bit concerned about the long-term durability of the shoes, and something that you'll want to be keeping in mind depending on where you're going to be traveling. On the inside, the shoes include some nice antibacterial insoles that offer a nice amount of padding and support. And it's also nice that you can actually remove these if the shoes happen to get wet or if you need to create a little bit more space inside the shoe. And then moving on to probably the most important and unique material on the shoe is Vessi's Dymatech breathable knit, which covers the majority of your foot, and this is what makes the shoe waterproof. And the way that this works is that there's millions of little holes in the membrane of this material that allow sweat and heat to get out as they vaporize but prevent any water from getting in. And so I know that sounds like a lot of marketing speak, but the waterproofing has actually worked really well, and that's something we'll talk a little bit more about later in the video, and I'll go through some of the water tests that we did. But the material itself has actually been really comfortable. It's nice how it molds around your shoe. It reminds me a lot of the mesh that we saw in the Adidas Ultra Boost and the NMD. It's not quite as thick as the mesh on the Ultra Boost, and it's a little bit thicker than what you'll find on the NMDs. It doesn't have quite as much give, so it feels a little bit less sock-like, but I think that it's a really nice balance considering the durability and the waterproofness that this adds. In addition to being waterproof, this material is also supposedly mud-proof and snow-proof. Most of the things that would fall on it you can just kind of wipe right off. And the shoes are supposed to be waterproof for the life of the shoe as long as there's no sort of tears or holes that start to build up. The last thing I'll talk about as far as the materials are the laces. There's nothing really special going on here. They are a little bit thick, so it did take them a while to dry when they got wet, but for the most part they've been pretty easy to use. And then on the outside, actually holding the laces in place, you have this sort of wing that's made out of a suede or plastic-like material. On the inside it looks a little bit more plasticky, more suede on the outside, but this has held up well. Even when it's gotten wet, I haven't noticed any sort of staining or tearing. So pretty nice materials overall, besides the wear that I mentioned a little bit earlier on the sole. As far as the knit and the lacing, it does feel like they should hold up pretty well under normal use. The next thing I want to talk about is the sizing, and this is probably one of the most difficult parts of ordering something like this online. I normally have a hard time finding shoes that fit me just right. I have a pretty wide foot, and I'm also in between sizes. So with all of the shoes that I showed earlier in the video, I wear an 11.5. but Vessi has 11 and 12. And so what I ended up getting was the size 11. And for the most part, this has actually fit really well. On the company's site, they say that even though the shoes may feel a little bit snugger when you first get them, that the knit and the cushioning will start to kind of contour to your foot. So that's normal. And you can also remove the insoles when you first get them just to make them a little bit more comfortable while they're breaking in. So with my wider feet, the size 11 has worked very well. I haven't noticed any issues. My toes aren't cramped near the front or anything like that. So I was very happy with how that worked out. I think that if I had actually ordered the 12, they would have ended up being a little bit long. So for the most part, it seems like the shoes are fairly true to size. If you're in between sizes like this, it seems like it might be a good idea to order a half size down. One additional thing that I'll mention about the fit is the entrance to the shoe. So it has this sort of sock-like style that's become a little bit more popular with a lot of the sneakers that I've been seeing. So the NMDs and the Ultra Boost that I just showed have this similar style opening. And I'm not super crazy about this because I have a wider and larger foot. It always feels like I really have to kind of squeeze my foot in there. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's more of a preference thing, but I personally like to have a tongue that's a little bit looser so that I can open that up. But I do believe that that would probably affect the waterproofness of the shoe. So for the most part, it hasn't been too tricky to get my shoe in. I just kind of have to shove my foot in there and then pull up from the back, and it goes in fairly comfortable. They do have a nice amount of flexibility, but just something that I wanted to mention, especially if you've never used this style of shoe before. And so jumping a little bit more into the actual waterproofing, as I've mentioned a few times throughout the video, I was really impressed with how dry these actually kept my feet. So I tried walking around with them in a variety of puddles. I spilled water on them, just pouring water out from a water bottle, as you can see in the footage. And I also jumped into the shower with these to kind of simulate a little bit of harder rain. And for the most part, the shoes passed all of these tests with flying colors. My socks were completely dry after going through the shower or jumping into puddles. They've been working really well. So it was just a very weird feeling to see something like this knit, which does not seem like it would be waterproof, and see the water just kind of bouncing off and knowing that my socks were staying dry. So really great implementation here. One thing that Vessi does note on their site is that these are not good shoes for swimming. So anything that actually goes above the ankle is no longer considered waterproof. And I did notice that once I stepped into the shower with these shoes, some of the back of my shoes did start to get wet because I was wearing shorts. So obviously water started to sneak in here near the top, but any of the knit area that was hit by water was completely isolated. And then one thing that I also noticed is that the ventilation on these shoes actually worked really well considering how waterproof they are. I was a little bit skeptical, especially because my feet tend to sweat quite a bit, so I was a little bit worried that I would just avoid getting the shoes wet in water but still just have a bunch of my own sweat trapped inside the shoe. And so these are not going to be as well ventilated as something like the Ultra Boost or NMDs that I showed a little while ago, just because the knit on those is very open. They are definitely not waterproof, so of course air is going to be able to get out. It's going to keep my feet a little bit drier, but considering just how waterproof these are, I think it's a really fair balance. For the most part, my shoes didn't feel any less comfortable with the sweat than I would wearing any other shoes. In the past, I hadn't really considered how important waterproof shoes might be, but when you're traveling with one pair of shoes, if they happen to get wet, you could be out of commission or just very uncomfortable for a longer period of time. So really nice to have the peace of mind that comes with a style of shoe like this, especially if you're gonna be using this for one bag travel and you only wanna take one pair of shoes. And so the last thing that I'm going to talk about is what it's actually like to wear these and walk around for a full day. Even though they're waterproof, if they're not comfortable, it's still not going to be appealing to use these for your trip or your day-to-day. And I was actually surprised with how comfortable they ended up being, considering that this isn't a brand that I was very familiar with. The combination of the lightweight sole and the cushioned insoles that they include offer a nice amount of padding and support. And considering the higher price point, I do believe that there's probably some improvements to be made as far as the comfort. But considering how lightweight they are and the versatility offered by the waterproof material, I think the company managed to find a nice balance of offering something that's still going to be plenty comfortable for anybody who's doing just more casual walking around the city and isn't planning on doing any sort of extreme hiking with these. So a pretty nice job all around with the materials and the design of the shoe. And if you're looking for something versatile, lightweight, and waterproof that's going to work well for minimal travel, this is going to be a good option to check out. And so to wrap up, it's been a great experience testing out the Vessi Cityscape sneakers over the past couple of weeks. They've been really comfortable to wear. I like their overall look. They're super lightweight, and it's just really great to have a fully waterproof pair of shoes. And so you can currently purchase these on Vessi's site for about $130, which is a bit of an investment, but this does seem to be very much in line with a lot of the other popular travel gear that's currently on the market. So if you're looking for a lightweight and fully waterproof pair of shoes, this is going to be a good option to check out. And so if you like the idea of products like these shoes that are gonna provide a more versatile and minimal wardrobe, I definitely recommend you check out the videos that we did for the Oliver's Merino Henley and the Bowbags Travel Sweatshirt 2.0. Those have been really great products that have helped me while I was trying to travel a little bit more minimally. And we're definitely gonna be featuring a lot more products like that in the next couple of months. So if there's anything that you'd be interested in seeing on the channel, please let me know in the comments. And I want to go ahead and thank the company again for sending the product for me to test out. And if you guys found this video useful, please give us a like. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos. And thank you guys so much.